guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. So today we're going to be talking all things concealers. I feel like I've tried a lot of concealers over the last couple of years. I am 35, so I definitely have some fine lines and wrinkles, some crow's feet, some laughter lines developing, and I definitely get quite a lot of darkness in these inner corners. So for me, it's a real struggle to find a concealer that really covers my dark circles and that does not really age me and that doesn't really crease and exaggerate lines and wrinkles under there. It's a struggle. I feel like after a certain age, maybe somewhere in our 20s, we start to have to choose between really covering darkness and not exaggerating lines and wrinkles. You can't really have it all, I feel like. Obviously, everybody's under eye situations are very different, so therefore we'll be able to make different choices. Some people won't have like much discoloration or under eye darkness whatsoever. So for you, you can just focus on something that brightens that area or that covers a slight amount of darkness you may have, but keeping it really light coverage, really natural under there, so avoiding adding aging and heavy products under there. For some people who have really a lot of darkness under there, you'll want to prioritize covering that, maybe at the expense that it's going to exaggerate lines and wrinkles under there, and then there'll be people in the middle. Obviously, I don't have mature skin, but I am over 20, so I do have lines and wrinkles, I do have under eye darkness and circles, and that stuff, some of it is hereditary, some of it comes with age. There'll be people in their 20s whose under eye has more lines and wrinkles than mine, maybe they're more expressive or it's just in your genes, and there'll be people a lot older who don't have as many lines and wrinkles under there as I do, and the same thing goes for under eye darkness. So everybody has a completely different under eye situation. So what I'm here to talk to you about are my top 10 that I think will work really well, or certainly as well as possible, in the under eye area for people who have lines and wrinkles, fine lines, wrinkles, whatever you want to call them, expression lines, crow's feet, laughter lines, all these good stuff. And I also just want to point out that there is nothing wrong with having lines under our eyes. Everybody has them, because as we know, when we smile, when we laugh, that's when our lines are exaggerated. So try not to feel negatively about your lines and wrinkles. Try to embrace them. Try to understand that everybody has them and they're a sign of a happy, joyful life. So for me, my under eye situation is that I have quite a lot of darkness under there. It definitely takes a full coverage concealer to cover my darkness, and most full coverage concealers on their own do not fully cover my darkness completely. There's ones that are like just about enough that I'm okay with them, but there are definitely the majority that leave a little bit of darkness poking through. And obviously there are colour correctors and things like that on the market, but I just don't choose to, I don't enjoy them. I've never gotten well with one. I prefer to just go in with a concealer, so that's what I'm going to focus on today. So number 10 is Tarte's Shape Tape, an absolute classic. People have raved about this for years, and probably if you are 20 or under, this is going to be one of your absolute favorite, if not your absolute favorite concealer, because it's mega full coverage, it blends beautifully, it looks very nice on the skin, it wears very well, it's got a lot going for it. But for me personally, at 35, it's too heavy. I feel like since this first came out and everyone went off their rocker about it, things have really come a long way. A lot of concealers have been launched and we now have a lot of options that offer as much coverage as this one, but aren't as heavy. So this is number 10. Still a lovely concealer, still a good concealer, will work for lots of people. But yeah, for me, a little too heavy in the under eye area. Won't crease, won't move, lots of positives, but it is too heavy for my liking. Next up, one that people don't really talk about, but I really enjoy, and this is the MAC Studio Fix 24 Hour concealer. So this is the smooth wear concealer. It's their most recent concealer launch. I hated their water weight concealer. I reviewed it and it was a disaster on me. It creased worse than like any concealer I can remember creasing on me. This one I really like. It does have that very strong painty smell that MAC Studio Fix Fluid, the foundation, is famous for having. So it does have a very strong, fairly unpleasant scent to it, but it does go as soon as you've put it on. It's not something that lingers around under your nose all day. This one is kind of lower down because it doesn't fully cover my circles and it slightly creases throughout the day, so it's just not up there with my favorites, but it is a nice concealer if you're looking for something that isn't the top end as far as price. It's a decent concealer and it doesn't do anything terrible. It stays there, it covers decently, it doesn't crease horribly, but there's nothing like mega amazing about it that it would be higher up the list. Next up, the Too Faced Born This Way concealer. You can see I've got a lot of use out of this one. We're more than halfway through and this is a mega concealer. If you just want the biggest volume concealer, most bang for your buck, this gives you a massive 15 mils, so you won't be sorry. This is very similar and will often be compared to the Tarte Shape Tape because they are very similar in lots of ways. Both very full coverage. You get a lot for your money with both of those concealers. They are both pretty matte. They are pretty thick and heavy concealers. They're going to cover absolutely everything and neither of them is going to crease. This one for me is slightly more natural of a finish. It's not quite as heavy matte as the Tarte Shape Tape, so it is slightly more flattering. I can still wear this, it will cover everything, but it is heavy, so it does look like older under my eye area. But again, if you are a bit younger than me, you will be probably, your holy grail will be this one, because if you don't worry so much about lines and wrinkles, this one will be mega good because you get a lot for your money. It's a very full coverage concealer, a little goes a long way, blends beautifully, it looks nice and natural, if obviously heavier. So this is my number 8. Number 7 is one that was originally my number 1 for a very long time, but recently we've had a little bit of a falling out. It's slightly gone off the boil for me, and this is the Huda Beauty concealer. It's the Overachiever concealer is the name of it. I loved this for a very long time. This was my ultimate holy grail concealer a couple of years ago for a very long time. I went through a whole one of these, and again, this is a decent sized concealer. You get a good amount in here, 10 whole mils, the same as the Shape Tape. This is mega full coverage, as full coverage as it gets, with just a tiny little drop of it. I'm not a huge fan of the applicator of this one. It is a bit of a strange one. It's not as easy to spread the concealer under the eyes or to, you know, use it down your nose and things like that because of that slightly strange applicator. But I will say it was my absolute favorite because it covered everything. It didn't crease. It was flawless under the eye. It didn't feel heavy or anything like that. However, in the last maybe 6 months, this has started to cause me issues, and it's not because it's age. This is a brand new one that I bought in the summer. It's just suddenly started to really crease on me way more than it used to. So it never used to crease at all. Now it definitely creases on me like a fair amount throughout the day. And I also started to notice that it doesn't wear as well as some of the ones that I've started to love more. I feel like throughout the day I'm losing some of that coverage. Yeah, so for me, this has definitely dropped a little down the list. So again, because I did used to love it so much, someone with maybe less of an under eye situation to me will still love this and definitely worth a try. But yeah, for me, this has definitely gone off the boil, as I guess maybe I've just got a little bit older. So in 6th place, we have a bit of a tie situation. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Away concealer. And I'm gonna add in here the Benefit concealer because I tried that one recently. I had a sample of that one, and I find these, as I've considered them, to be very similar, like almost identical. So in this list, I would put them as a tie in number 6 slot. So the Charlotte Tilbury concealer, I love the finish of this. It's beautifully natural under the skin. You don't need to use a lot. Again, not a huge fan of the applicator on here, but I can work with it. You get a minuscule amount of the Charlotte Tilbury, and the Benefit isn't massively generous either. Both of these cover really nicely and feel really lightweight under the eye, but both of these crease quite badly on me. I can't wear wear either of these really without setting them, and obviously powder is going to be another thing that you make a choice as you get a bit older. You either set with powder or you'll prefer to leave your concealer. Maybe you're leaving your concealer unset is going to mean that you get more creasing, but it's also going to mean that under eye area is lighter, is less age, there's less product there, it's less heavy. So again, another choice you're going to have to make as you get a bit older. You set and sacrifice a bit of heaviness and then maybe a bit of aging under there, or whether you leave it unset and sacrifice for a bit of creasing is going to be, again, something that is personal choice. Both of these would need to be set on me because they are going to really crease throughout the day, and actually they're probably going to crease anyway regardless of set or not. So I love how they look, I love how they apply, I love both of these concealers, how well they cover and the natural and the light feel under the eye, but both crease more than I would like them to. Next up in number 5 spot is the Jeffree Star concealer. I love the formula of this one. It's very lightweight, it blends beautifully. I like the applicator. I like that with one dip of the wand you can do all of the areas of your face that you might want to conceal. However, it just doesn't cover well enough for me, which is really surprising because you'd really expect Jeffree Star to come out with the fullest coverage concealer of all time, and I'm pretty sure that is how he kind of sold it, but I definitely don't find this covers all of my darkness on my under eye area. It's definitely showing quite a bit still through once I've applied it, and I can build up and that will still happen. I don't find it aging under the eyes. I find it very light and natural of a finish, which again is surprising. I thought his concealer would be incredibly matte as well as his powder. I thought they both would be mega matte, and they aren't. I find this to be more of a natural finish. Definitely can get away without setting this one, but for me and my current under eye situation, as far as darkness, it doesn't give me enough coverage that I would like. There's still too much showing through when I use this on its own. So again, if you have less under eye darkness, this might be your absolute holy grail. And at number 4 spot, one of the most underrated products of life, and this is the Clinique Beyond Perfecting Super Concealer. This is like my 4th one of these. I absolutely love it. It is a more natural concealer, so it doesn't cover everything, but it does cover as well as the Jeffree Star, probably as well as some of the others that I'm about to talk about. I'd say it's like a medium to full coverage. You don't get a huge amount, but it's a decent fill in there at 8 grams. It looks really tiny, but there's actually more in there than you think. It has a nozzle, which I'm not a huge fan of. As far as an applicator, I would have preferred a doe foot. You only need the tiniest amount of this. This is one for you. If you're someone who just likes a little dot and a tap under the eye, this one will last you forever. You'll be able to really control the amount you squeeze out. You'll be able to get every last drop out of the tube by squeezing. It's very natural. It's more hydrating than any other concealer on this list. Very lightweight, very natural on the skin. It really doesn't crease at all on me, but is definitely missing some of the coverage from the other concealers that we're going to talk about that are above it. So the next 3 concealers kind of have all of the things that I've said about the Clinique concealer that I love, plus something else which just boosts them a little bit above that one. So in 3rd place is one that I've really been experimenting with recently that I didn't love when I first used it, when I first reviewed it, but because I'd purchased it, I've kept on using it here and there, and it's definitely something that has started to perform better on me. Maybe this one and the Huda one have like swapped around in my drawer or something. So this is the Armani Power Fabric Concealer. Lots of people's holy grail concealer. One of the biggest issues I've had with this concealer is the shade. If you know what would be a good shade for me in this concealer, then help me out in the comments because it has been a struggle. I have the shade 4.5, which is far too light for me. Under my eye area, under there, it's much too light. It makes it very bright and crazy looking under there. So that has been a struggle, and one of the reasons why I didn't love it, because it's hard, it throws you off and the shade is off, and the shade range of this one is confusing. It's got decent coverage, definitely doesn't fully cover everything under my eyes, but natural, lightweight, lasts throughout the day, creases a little, looks really well and does really well unset. but will crease a little. So again, for me, I need to set this one and then it starts to look a little aging under there. But if I leave it unset and sacrifice the creasing and tap out the creases as they come, then this is one of my absolute favorites. If you don't like to set it, I think you'll love this one. If you have a lot of darkness under your eyes, I don't think it will fully cover it because it doesn't on me. If it had a hair more coverage and then I didn't have to set it, I would really, really love this one. So now we come to my top two, and I've agonized. I've just literally been out talking to my husband about how I'm going to put one of these in second and one of these in first, because they are so similar as far as how they end up looking. The formulas feel totally different. The applicators are totally different. The sort of feel to the concealers under the eye is totally different. Everything about them in lots of ways as they go on is different, but the end result is frighteningly similar. So the top two concealers for me are the Estee Lauder Double Radiant Concealer and the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self, what's it called? And the Shiseido Synchro Skin Self Refreshing Concealer. So both of these, more than any other concealer on the list, cover pretty much every last glimmer of darkness and discoloration in my under eye area, but they stay not creasing, they stay light, they stay natural looking, they feel comfortable in the under eye area, they don't look too heavy. I can wear both of these set or unset, which is a big plus for me, especially as we get older. I'm setting less and less in my under eye area, but either way, with both of these, I can either set or not set and I'm good to go. So it's very, very hard for me to choose between these, and I think it's going to be personal preferences that will decide your choice. The Estee Lauder applicator is really hard and stiff, and I don't like applying it for that reason. It's not a fun time. You're literally, it feels like you're applying it with like some kind of log that you've got from your garden and just scraping it on. It's unpleasant feeling to apply this one because the doe foot is very hard. It also feels very thick. When you first apply it, it goes on and it feels very thick, and the first few times I tried this, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be a disaster because it feels thick and heavy. But when you blend it out, it really doesn't maintain that feeling. It's kind of luminous and light looking under the eye. If you're looking for a concealer that is going to be radiant, then this is my absolute favorite one. Almost all of these other concealers are more on the matte side. This is definitely more of a natural luminosity to the finish. As I said, very easy to blend out, covers better than any other concealer I've got here. Although some of these will claim to be mega full, maximum full coverage, this one is the only one that fully covers all of my dark circles other than the Shiseido. The Shiseido has a much nicer applicator, very, very soft. Again, won't be to everyone's taste. I quite like it. I don't have any issues with it. I do have an issue with the fact that you get such a small amount in here, only 5.8 mils. It looks really, really diddy. I like the shades in both of these concealers. There's so many pros about both of these concealers, but ultimately for me, they give me the coverage I need to disguise my darkness under my eyes without aging me too much. Neither of them crease. Both of them can be worn set or unset. They feel light, they look natural, but with the coverage that I'm looking for and without making me look twice my age. So these are the two, and I think honestly I'm gonna have to put the Shiseido in first and the Estee Lauder in second, merely because of the applicator. It's just way nicer to apply for that reason. But it is incredibly close, and as far as their actual performance, I really cannot separate them. They are very, very similar, although as I say, the Shiseido is much thinner consistency than the Estee Lauder, slightly more natural, slightly more luminous. You get less, you get a bit more. Very, very hard to choose between the two, but I think that the application process of this one is so much more pleasant because of the rock that is in this one, that I'm gonna have to just nip this one into first and this one into second. So there you have it. I hope you found this helpful. Please let us know your recommendations in the comments down below for your ultimate concealers for slightly more mature, slightly more aging under eyes. Let us know how you get on. Let us know if you've tried any of these, how they work for your skin type and your skin tone. I would love to know as always. I hope you found this video helpful and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.